Different, don't get bad. High difference of my winning. Show do good outside swinging. Yeah, I got nice vision. It doesn't make sense to me, dude.
Step this way, folks, and see the attic goblin of Akron. The horrors of the Scab Lab. 7 years, Marty. Sean here. I was too tired yesterday after we got home from the rent fair. Massive headache. 20 years, Marty. It's been going for 20 years. I've been there every year. Over the years, though, as it goes on, I just feel less and less interested. That's with a lot of things, I guess. I mean, I used to have the full Altair, officially licensed costume with the leather. I think it was Noble Collection with the leather and all the weapons, the sword, and it was just a wonderful time. Then I had somebody make me a custom Ezio costume with ceramic armor. It was the Assassin's Creed Revelations. Sorry, brain can't function this morning. I've always enjoyed that stuff. For a while, I was with Kentucky Heroes. I was Captain America. I had the costume, the shield, everything. We would go visit terminally ill children or go to fundraisers. If I could find the video, as embarrassing as it is, I was doing Now I May Whip, Nay Nay, with all the kids out on the dance floor, along with Batman, and I can't remember who else was out. Batgirl was out there, and we were leading them. Oh, I'll post it, but the comments are going to be brutal. Anyway, back to the Green Goblin. That's an actual photo of his birth on screen, by the way. That's actually like 2 seconds after he was born. I had 3 kidneys, 1 testicle, 9.5 eyes, 42 wrinkles. You know his whole life story. But I wanted to talk about a couple things. But the first thing is his psychosis and how it is, it is full display. Not just in the way that I've talked about it before. It's this whole April saga. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but he's blaming it on N-Word Boy and William Glory Hole. It's obviously Chance's fault. Something bad happened to her, and of course he blames everyone else. And he gives this bizarre backstory. And here's where the issue lies. Imagine you're walking down the street, and there's a beggar, right? Beggar sitting right there in front of you, and he starts rambling about things, and you have no idea if he's talking to you, what he's talking about. Is there a backstory there? Are you telling me how you're poor? Or say you walk up to a street preacher. You don't know what denomination he is, and he starts asking you, have you prepared yourself? And this, over here, this happened, and there's no reference, nothing. Because they don't know their audience. When Chance talks and tells these bullcrap stories, I don't know who he's telling them to. He doesn't know. If you think about all of the aspects of what he's doing, let's say he's in a Facebook group, right? He knows he has an audience. He doesn't know how long they've known him. He doesn't know about any of the history. If Cyrax had any competence whatsoever, he would say, there's lots of stuff out there, if you go look at how Marty messed with me, here's a link to 9,000 videos. Look at how they mistreated me. Or if he was clever, he can't now, thank God, because his laptop, PC is bricked. If he was clever, he would have made an edit to make himself look like the victim. But we're talking about Chance, the sound engineer, the video editing specialist, musical genius Marty. He starts telling these stories. There's never any backstory, no bullet point list, no recap. The only recap he gives, he talks about random names, as if you're supposed to know who that is. Well, one thing Cyrax is good at is knowing everyone else's history and all the bullcrap stuff that's out there that he, quote-unquote, found in the Discord. Cyrax, if you can find it, it's meant to be found, my brother. Because I'm assuming I'm your brother. Everybody's your little brother. My older brother. My son. Callum will show back up one day, and Careless Whisper will play, and we will embrace. You want to know how I got these scabs? Look at me. I can't. My stepfather was a bit of a perk addict and a fiend. Oh, the goblin. Next villain in the Batman. Steven Seagal. Famously in the movie, I think it was The Glimmer Man, he didn't want to kill the bad guy because he had just become a Buddhist. And it didn't make any sense for the bad guy to live. I mean, he was dead, but somehow he lived. Someone told him, Steven, don't forget what brought you to the dance, what made you popular, what made you famous. And he didn't. And his movie suffered after that. Because he still had some credibility at the time. Chance isn't clever. He's not. Because he would start being overly positive, never talk about the haters, get an audience, a bunch like Darkside Phil, although his audience is now shrinking. He would get an audience, grow his, quote, fan base, and then every once in a while bring up those horror stories and try to get sympathy from the people who, God help us all, if it ever happened, who actually liked him. Put yourself in an evaluated position and you sit down. Chance, tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, if I asked you, tell me a little bit about yourself, what you would probably tell me is, I was born in so-and-so, my parents were... I might ask you a follow-up question. Well, what was your childhood like? What was your favorite thing to do? What did you want to be as a kid? I want to be a hemophile. Okay, Chance. Then you might tell me if you're married. It wouldn't be a long, drawn-out story unless you were some psychopathic narcissist. It would be general information, stuff that you felt comfortable sharing. Now picture if you asked Chance. For the past 8 years or 10 years or whatever it will be, I'm an independent content creator. I've been busting my ass to get where I'm at, which is worse than when I started. You wouldn't get the truth. You wouldn't get anything that told you who he was. You would just get what everyone else did to him, not what he did. What if you were trying to help him work through childhood trauma and you heard about the whole thing with Gordon, and maybe you get to Gordon died of cancer. Chance, how does that make you feel? What if he just said, I don't care, and you had nothing to go on why he didn't care? Well, why don't you care? Because he was an asshole. That is what it would be like to talk to Chance. But if I talked to you and you said, why don't you mourn your dad? I wasn't really close with my dad. I didn't really know him. He was out of our lives, and I did miss him, but I kind of just grew to resent. Hopefully you guys see where I'm going. I mean, you do see where I'm going, but hopefully you know what I mean with Chance not being able to recall anything in his past. And I told you, by the way, me and my friend Howard, I told you we were going to be talking about the guy we worked with, the one that's as delusional as Chance. And, he's balding, has a weird shaped face. He's kind of like Chance if he wasn't as repulsive. But we're going to talk about this guy. He had nothing his whole life up until, I guess, maybe his mid-20s. He had nothing. He had nothing to talk about. So he invented everything. Underground fight clubs, almost catching the Wolfman of Wolf County, and so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. Talking about Chance. Chance's past, he only goes back, it seems like, to the music, where he was a juggalo, and what does he always say? Oh, I know he's this and he's that. No. He was a juggalo, and he had signed to the label, and he had major sponsors, and he was a successful content creator. I think we all know why he doesn't talk about my past. Jumping off the balcony or the second floor, trying to do some kind of Jeff Hardy. What happened with Blind Billy. And the horror story that would be his life. And I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I don't doubt it, that a bus stop was close to Chance, and he would go out there and try to hang out with the high school kids. I mean, remember, he was out of high school, so he was in his 20s, going out there and trying to hang out with 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And they reportedly moved the bus stop. He's not going to talk about that. So the only thing in his life that made a mark was when he was discovered. I hope I have my lore right. He had like 3 viewers. Marty just happened to discover him and saw him for the goblin that he is. Had some kind of predictive vision where he could see where we were headed, knew that the goblin was this monster that needed to be exposed. Pressure reveals who you really are, and stress revealed who Chance really was. I don't like putting myself in stressful situations, but he stayed right there. He enjoyed every second of it. So if his audience really is just made up of buddy trolls, and he's lying to them and trying to convince the people that know exactly what's going on with him and only infuriating them more and daring them to come after him, it's just proof that he's not that smart. And he really is delusional. So I would have imagined at one point Sally and Ed would have sat him down and talked to him. Chance, why is it that you believe this is what happened? Well, it is, because here's my proof, which brings me to this point. When he goes to court, he thinks he's just going to be able to bring video evidence and everything. From my understanding, he can just go, Your Honor, I have all, not go through his lawyer, but Your Honor, I have all these videos, I have all this proof, and this is proof that they did this. Did you ask for it to be admitted as evidence, submitted, whatever? Well, I don't know. It's true, Your Honor. I really do want to see him go to court. We all do. He's just going to rage out. He's not, no, Your Honor, shut up. No, I'm trying to talk. The best thing that could happen to Sally is for him to go in front of these reality checks, to put him in front of a judge, show how insane he is. Because in his attic, Sally can just ignore it, pretend he's not insane. Ed can just perk out and not pay attention. The best thing that could happen is for it to be exposed in public, not for him to be exposed, you know what I mean. Flasher there. For people there in Akron to truly see who he is, to make a public spectacle, especially in a place like a courthouse, man. Bailiff, take this little cryptid away. As a parent, it doesn't mean you abandon your child. You would want to go through the process with them. Maybe they would remand him to state care, finally. And it's not like Lauren. Like, I always thought the state should intervene, and at least his probation should intervene and tell him, dude, you are talking to fake people. We're sick of it. You're done. Because Lauren, I wanted him to stop. I actually thought that Lauren, of anybody, would have some kind of, it took him a long time, but would have some kind of revelation. He would transform, not into a butterfly, but from a worm into a caterpillar. That caterpillar's never going to evolve, but at least it's not a worm. Rolling in the, or what did he say? Don't treat me like I just crawled out of the mud. With Cyrax, you're not getting the caterpillar. He's going to remain a worm in the dirt, flailing about, worm on the concrete, flailing about, just trying to find anywhere he could fit in, trying to find the closest dirt nearby. And in saying that, what I mean is, Cyrax flounders on the internet so much, he just looks for anywhere to go, a panel. He's trying to go on more panels, he's taunting more people, he's daring them to let him come on. Put him in a place where there's mandatory therapy sessions, mandatory cafeteria luncheons, supervised of course, individual therapy sessions. Put him somewhere that he has to interact. But because it's not the kind of we love you Cyrax buddy troll, or I'm fighting back against the system, I don't know if that would even work for him. But I do know the best thing that could happen is for him to have a public outburst. If Low T really wanted to, he could still have a victory. He could make sure Chance got into that courtroom. Chance is very lucky that none of the trolls who have nothing to lose haven't come up there, lured him out into the street, and gotten in some kind of scrap. Called the police, turn themselves in, and just sit back and say, you know what? I'm gonna get this jail time. But this goblin, when he goes in front of a judge, it's over, as Kenny Smith would say when Vince Carter dunked a basketball. That is the easiest W in the history of the Cyrax universe. The Raxiverse. Talking about the Ren Fair, he would fit in so well there. You can look like a troll, but if you dress up in Renaissance garb, you become like 10 times more attractive to other Renaissance fair goers. Women that are 2 out of 10 instantly become a 6 or 7 out of 10 because of the clothing they're wearing. And Cyrax looks like a goblin. There are people that dress up like centaurs and fairies and goblins, and they even have a goblin effing forest with goblin themed games, everything. And that goblin picture you saw earlier with the rings, they even have sizes, and one of the sizes is goblin, which is the smallest size. How fitting. There are places where this little goblin could fit in. Now, I would never wish it upon anyone. Of course, he'd be perving over, because there are over 1,000 women there, thousands probably in Ohio, but they would all be in danger from Rax, including the younger ones that are on cast, that are required to interact with people. There are places, though, that he could find where he could fit in. But we know the only place he should fit in, he would fit in like the snuggest Tetris piece ever into some kind of mental health facility or program in general. I don't know if Sally just doesn't take him anywhere because she knows what's going to happen. She knows what he's going to say and do. And again, that's another bad look on her. I'm not going to work on him. I'm simply just not going to let him experience anything. Take this little goblin out of his comfort zone and go somewhere like a state park where they're not going to run into people. Give him something to do. Give the goblin a goal, a scavenger hunt. See if he can find everything. And if he does, you guys get McDonald's in the drive-thru. He has no goals, no milestones to hit. Sally's giving him nothing to work towards except a guaranteed homeless arc. And I did a little digging and getting into a group home, and someone else said this, but it's true. To get someone into a group home, they judge by the need, by their situation. And I'll talk about Lauren real quick. Lauren actually went out and got a job. He actually worked. He had some kind of social interaction with Tony and Winnie. He had social interaction there. He had a relationship with his mom. He would get out of his trailer to go to the store. Cyrax can't even drive. And they take that into account. I mean, it's not a big part, but they go, can he get anywhere? What can we do? How can we help him? Because when Sally dies and Ed dies, in order to get to a place of employment, he's going to need a car. So how's he going to get there? Well, we have to teach him how to buy a bus. You know what? A bus pass would be a nightmare. We know it would happen. No, shut up. These are all terrifying things if you're the person that's in charge of Rax. If you're the person that has to deal with him. Once he got in a group home, if he could keep a phone that had data, no matter how crappy it was, and he could still get online and blame everyone else for the reason he's in a group home, they would continually ask him, we need you to get a job. Why won't you get a job? Because the trolls. Cyrax, get off the internet. Most of these trolls, there are plenty of nasty people out there. They would go after them and not you, Cyrax. There are a lot of people out there. I mean, I'm watching people cover Nova Online and Andrew Ditch, maybe, where he's trying to get kids to come over to his house and he's playing with young children. Oh, and Stanley Bell, and I believe it's Steve from Machete Squad, I know it's you, and Dee Dee. Those two individuals making themselves known and letting it be known that they're giant pieces of garbage, yeah, that wasn't a good idea. And watching you own them on stream on a regular basis is wonderful. Cyrax could be a part of that. He could just be a consumer and stop trying to be a content creator. Just go into streams and watch people obliterate all these other trolls, keep his mouth shut, but he can't. He'd be jealous that the trolls were going after everyone else in the worst way possible. And I'll say it again. The Lornography community, I thought, was the best. The Rax community is right up there with them. They want to keep these people occupied. They want to keep them away from people they could possibly harm. Constant catfishes, so they can't look for a real woman. With Lauren, We didn't have to take his computer away because they took it away. His internet access, they took it away. They monitored what he was sending and doing. And Cyrax needs the same thing. We're going to take all your stuff away so you can't get online, you can't antagonize these people, you can't get catfished and trolled anymore, even though people always find a way to do it. Thank God they did. We're going to be on you to get a job. We know he wouldn't. Lauren refused to take low-paying jobs. He refused to take any job that required hard work. Cyrax is the same, but what kind of job could you give him? We've already asked that question. Everything I've ranted about in this video are things that I think about when I hear him losing his mind. And I think about what it's going to take to get him, not the help, the assistance. I don't even like to use that. The monitoring and management that he has earned. I'll see you guys in the next one.
It doesn't make sense to me, dude.
Different, don't get bad. I difference on my winning. Show the gun outside swinging. Yeah, I got night vision.